Welcome to Casually Dressed Deep Conversation with me, Greg Chalmers. CDDC is sponsored by Pizza Daddy, Lanarkshire's #1 American-style pizza parlour. To stay up to date on new flavours and promotions, then get connected on the socials. The Instagram handle is @RealPizzaDaddy and the website is www.thepizzadaddy.co.uk. To see what we are getting up to here at Casually Dressed, then you can find us on Instagram with the handle CDDC Podcast, and on Twitter it's @PodcastCDDC. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, then please hit those like and subscribe buttons. This afternoon, I'm in very auspicious company, so I'm joined by two-time Olympian and silver medalist, Luke Patience. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm good. Now, I was just thinking there, how many years is it since I've seen you?
So, where are we at? We're 2019. We probably last saw each other in 2003, maybe. I think.
A long time ago, mate.
That's a long time. Maybe 2004 at a push, but a long time ago.
So, in that time, you've been pretty busy, mate. I have been, yeah. We've got off a wet. I've seen you.
Yeah, I basically carried on playing. I carried on doing the hobbies I was doing at school and run away from the real world as long as I can.
Listen, that's the way to be. That is the way to be. So, how are you finding all this lockdown stuff?
Do you know, I'm finding it okay, and I tell you why. I sort of feel sometimes like the world went and got itself in a big rush, you know, and don't get me wrong, people dying is not good. So the basis on why we're being locked down is not okay, but I personally am finding time just to slow down, relax, enjoy the small things like what I'm going to have for tea that night or something, you know. So despite the fact off the back of some horrible stories, I'm not too bad. I'm all right. We're good here in Scotland, aren't we? Because most places around the country, we've got a lot of land around us. So we can kind of escape to the hills now and then and do our once a day outing.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, that once a day outing, it's been a saviour. You know, I mean, I couldn't really see myself living in, you know, a big city and having to deal with this, you know, everyone on top of each other. I think that would just be that'd be terrible.
Yeah, that'd be hard. Have you skipped a day yet? As in not gone out?
Yeah, today.
Many. All right, today. How did you go?
Yeah, I was like, should I go out today? Nah. So I bought. I actually had a really, really bad injury like last August. So I've only been able to walk for the past 9 weeks.
No.
Yeah,
goodness.
man. So I snapped my kneecap in two, took my patella tendon off, snapped my hamstring, did my ACL all at the one time.
Is that what, a car crash or something?
No, I was playing football. It was a bad challenge. The boy came straight through the back. He snapped my kneecap in half from behind.
I mean, that is a horrible story.
So welcome, guys.
I'm not good with medical stuff.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like the game got abandoned. Ambulance on the park, and so I had 42 staples all the way down my knee.
And can you describe the pain?
It didn't hurt.
Is it like, huh?
It didn't hurt. It just hit me. It was like getting hit by a car, and I went up in the air and then just lay there. But I think the shock kicked in because I just looked at my leg rather than it bending like this. It was in three bits. My kneecap my kneecap split and shot into my thigh.
Oh, for God's sake, man, that is rotten.
So I've been self-isolated. I had to move out my house and move back in my mum because I couldn't look after myself. So I've been self-isolating for 10 months. This is easy. So
yeah, this is easy. Another 3 weeks, neighbour.
I know. It's just putting off the inevitable. But what I was going to say to you is, like, see with the Olympics getting postponed and stuff, are you still training?
Well, obviously, all on the water training has stopped because everything's stopped, hasn't it? So we're not out in the boats, and I've come home to my parents' house as well, you know, to get cooked for, you know. But I'm just, the only training I'm doing is just physical gym stuff. But again, no gyms. But I brought you know, turbo trainers. Yeah. You put your back wheel of your bike on it and just static. and then I've done the classic homemade gym. Any bits of stick and rock in the garden are now my now
Paint
my bread and
tins.
butter. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, loading up shopping bags of hundreds of baked beans tins and then lifting them up. So
It's not quite the
but
Rocky
no,
montage.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. But it's amazing what you can do with just your body weight. Like,
Yeah.
there's tons you can do with your body weight, and keep kind of, mobile and keep your muscles remembering that they need to work every day. So that's more what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, still firing into that. And anyway, it kind of makes me feel like I've done something useful
Fair
for the
dues.
day.
So where is it
Yeah.
you're based just now? Are you down south?
So yeah, where I run my Olympic program from is Southampton, down in the south coast of England there. But it's a life on the road, really.
Oh, really?
We run, like, all the manufacturers for the sport exist there, and all the expertise that we use to build our boats and do any development in the shed, kind of like Formula One car analogy, and testing and stuff. But then it's all out on the road around Europe, around the world. It's not around Europe. I mean, if only it was only around Europe. So, but Scotland is home. Like, that's work, and
Yeah.
work stopped, and so I
Back
come
on the
home.
road.
Yeah, I come home. So, so it's based down there. Not many days spent in the country, I have to say.
Nah, that's a shame. Do you miss being up here?
It's my biggest. Folk talk about sacrifice when they're chasing sport, Olympic sport, and I think that is, my personal opinion, is rubbish. You're not sacrificing anything. You're one of the lucky ones that gets to choose what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're following a dream and you've made it your living. I call that a job a minute ago, work. It's never that. It's because it's something different. It's a passion. So, but what I don't sacrifice anything. But what I do miss, I really miss. I miss being in Scotland. I miss the Scottish people. I just miss the accent. Like, just talking to you here now, it feels like I'm watching an episode of Still Game. So,
Methadone Mick with my new teeth.
Yeah, exactly. So I really miss Scotland, and I will be moving back at the moment I hang up the boots on the sport. Aye.
Yeah. So, do you know, as I say, I've known you for a long time, but we, how did you actually get into sailing? Because most people that I knew around about here, they played football or rugby. Rugby was big at our school. How the hell did you be like, see you later on, lads, I'm away down the marina? Right, so how did that come about?
I'm the odd one out. It's funny, isn't it? It's not an obvious sport, really. I mean, but the fundamental answer to that is my dad was a mad keen sailor.
Okay.
Loved it, and still is. But we, I was born in Aberdeen, and we moved to Helensburgh when I was 2.5 or something like that. And half the reason we moved as a family West Coast is because Dad was so passionate about sailing. Helensburgh is quite a saily part of the world. Saily, which is absolutely not a word in the dictionary.
Just made it up.
Aye, and so in his sort of family friends down here, his mates were having kids at the same age and stuff, same time, sorry. And so basically, long and short is that we would go to Rue Marina after school and after Rue primary days. This is before Hermitage, and we just sort of splash about in the water. And the mums and dads were so sailing crazy that it was kind of infectious from them for me and a handful of others that got into it. I mean, it kind of just luck. It wasn't an immediate passion. It's obvious when you're young to get into football and rugby and maybe tennis stuff because all the kids are doing it. But this was different because it was my dad's mates that were doing it with their kids too.
Yeah. That's that. I mean, obviously you did something right. Do you know what I mean? You've taken it to kind of as far as it can go.
And it was all a big mistake. It was kind of,
You need to elaborate on it's all been a bit.
Yeah,
right, okay.
It was one massive mistake. It's just never meant to happen. We're from a wee West Coast town, village, tucked away out of the world. Still quite a ways from Glasgow, really, in the grand scheme of things. And it was it was always I mean, I was always sporty and enjoyed all sorts. Sailing was just one of them. It just happened to be, I don't know, I latched on. I fell in love with the act of sailing, and then I was already a competitive kid, so the competitive side was that was the bit that was already there. It was the fact that I fell in love with the sport of sailing, and then the competitive bit just bolted onto that.
I suppose because it's the freedom of it, I would imagine. Do you know what I mean? You're out there, and especially, do you know, Chris? When Chris and I were discussing what we were going to talk about, he used a very good term. He's like, "You've got an invisible engine, right? The wind,
Uh-huh.
right?" And I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Chris, that's incredibly clever for someone of such low intellect." But
You hear that, Chris?
I know.
Yeah.
But it's true. So you're out there and
Mhm.
you're using the elements to propel yourself through. And then when you add competition onto that, you think, well, because I was thinking, what if it's no windy? Is it just like, come back tomorrow, lads? Right?
Yeah, yeah. It sometimes is but you're spot on with and that's how I would describe it. I like the way you described it. Your engine is invisible, and it is quite creative. Like I'm a black sheep in my family because I come from a family of artists and designers, kind of very got that artistic side to them, and I'm useless at that. But I think my creativity was sailing because, like you said, there's no lines in the water, is there?
No.
It's not like your tennis court or your running
Mm.
track. There's no lines, and you get to carve your way through it, however you see is right, and how you feel the boat and what you see in the elements of the weather. And that was, I think, my version of creativity, and it's that I fell in love with. That kind of,
Mm-hmm.
it's just you, the boat, and in the wind, and there's nobody telling you how it should happen.
Yeah.
And you find it for yourself. So that bit's really addictive. That's the bit despite me having taken the sport to that level. That's the bit I never get bored of that.
Yeah.
Just being on a boat and just sailing.
Yeah.
Going wherever it is, just going.
See, like I said, it must be very freeing.
Mm.
So, I mean, we can't have a conversation, right, without talking about the Olympics, mate. Right.
Yeah.
You're on that Hermitage Academy Wall of Fame for a reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what I actually wanted to know, first of all, is, so in your event, you're working in a pair.
Mhm.
So, how do you go about, one, selecting a partner, and two, developing the synergy between the two of you? Because I've watched the races, mate. It's not just like bobbing along. Do you know what I mean? It is hard work, and you're horizontal to the wall and all that, and you're
Yeah.
covering
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
but it's like two parts to the same body. Do you know what I mean? One of you's doing a bit of that, someone's lying.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Right. So how do
Yeah.
you go about getting a partner and then working to become the one entity, as
Yeah.
it were?
Good question. Good question. You don't get asked that a lot, amazingly. But like you described, it's a two-man boat. So I'm saying me and my teammate is called Chris Group, but he's known over the world as Twiggy because he's so tall.
Oh, right,
Right?
okay.
He's like a twig. Tallest man you'll ever meet, skinniest and tallest man you'll ever meet.
Right. Okay.
But that's for a reason. So because you're trying to oppose the wind, which is trying to push the boat over. I'm tiny and he's really tall, but he's the guy that hangs out over the side of the boat, opposing the force that's trying to push the boat over. So what we're doing by that is creating power. So if you were 20 foot tall, that would be even better, but it doesn't obviously quite work like that. You wouldn't fit in the boat, for one thing. But so there are desirable body sizes and shapes for both the roles in the boat.
Okay.
So to answer your first question, how do you pick your partner? Yeah, they have to fit the size and weight category.
Okay.
And so that's your first, because it's a non-starter. If you're the wrong sizes, like, it's just too hard to get to the front of the world fleet without being the right size for the boat. So you pick on those bases, and then you will also pick somebody that you believe possesses the skill sets for that role as well. Because you might have the perfect body size, but you just, what you're good at and how you think is not quite right for the boat as well. Because they all take just subtly different skills. So, and you know that by the history of what they've done in the sport. So where they've come from, what they've achieved, and what kind of boats they've achieved in. So you get a flavor quickly of where their skill sets lie. So that's really the first thing that helps. And they need to think the same of you as well, obviously, because it's symbiotic.
Yeah.
It's not me picking my teammate. We're picking each other. And so that's how it starts. But it's not. Nothing's ever perfect. So, it's if you're in a relationship with someone, it's not like they're the perfect person. That's it forever. It's that they fit your world and you fit theirs, and and there are things that need worked on. And so, it's really helpful to like each other. I know that sounds silly, but there are gold medalists out there that don't fundamentally don't get on, but they have a wonderful business partnership where their skill sets are really married up. So how do we? You ask, kind of, how do we? What was it? How we get on the same level?
How do you kind of work get that working relationship? I mean, obviously, it's going to be hours in the water, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Hours in the water is one thing. You get a flavour for whether you were right about your perception of that person, their skill sets. But one of the things we work really heavily on is we do, I don't know there's different terms for it, but where you profile, like personality profiling. So we actually, so what you do individually is you go through this process with, one of the more famous ones, Myers-Briggs, it's called, where you answer a series of questions, and it will give you your personality, your traits, really, who you are, but importantly, how you think. And it's not just about who you are as a person. You can do specific ones as who are you in business when it matters, or who are you when you're under pressure.
Okay.
And it's not to pigeonhole you and say that's the person you are. It's to say that's your preference. So that is where you'll default to,
right? Okay.
And how you'll see the world. So what's really interesting is, so me and Twiggy essentially have a write-up of each other. I get an understanding of how Twiggy sees the world, and myself as well. Self-awareness is great. And so we work through where the blind spots are.
Wow.
And we've all got blind spots. Yeah. So we work out, do we cover everything as a team, or are we too similar and we miss is there a blind spot in our...
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? And crucially, one of the things we do is you become far more mutually respectful of each other if you can't understand their point of view.
Yeah.
You can always go, well, you can't understand it because you just see the world in different ways, and no one's right or wrong.
That's cool.
And that takes us a mile forwards in working together.
Yeah, I can imagine. That, I never knew that it went to that extent. I just thought, he's quite a nice guy. Let's get him in. We'll have a look.
Yeah.
But so
it would have been one today.
That done? Is that done through Team GB, or was this like?
No, we did that privately. Me and Twiggy. We've got a mentor that helps us out, and a really great woman who's been a CEO of companies and done some amazing things. And she had worked with this guy for years, that when she was a CEO of this company, this guy would be imperative into her selection of who she employs in certain parts of the business. He would help her understand the type of person they are. It's not an exam. No. It's not, it does, but it just gives, it's more to help that person blossom. Mm-hmm. That's why you do it. It's to allow them. So Team GB don't provide that, strictly speaking. But what Team GB is great at, and the British sailing team, is they will, if you come to them with a request, say, "Hey, I'd really like to do this." They're really open, and they would ultimately help you out and probably get someone in who can help with that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can kind of grab the bull by the horns yourself, or you can go through folk to help.
So going back to Team GB. So, when you were first starting, And so it would have been before the 2012 Olympics. How far before the Olympics did you know that you were going to be the guy?
There's two answers to that. One when I was dreaming that I'd be the guy, and one when and then one when I was like, actually, I've got a shot at it. So I watched the Sydney Olympics in 2000. I was 13, and I'd started sailing I was competing now in sailing at a junior level, and I watched that Olympics, and that was when I said to my mum and dad, "That's what I want to do." Done. So that was the hook.
Really?
Sort of 12 years earlier. 12 years earlier was the hook. But that was all a dream, and I was 13. I had no idea what that even means to say I want to go to the Olympics, Which is kind of a beautiful stage in it all when you're a kid. Nothing matters anyway. But really, it was 2009 was a turning point in my career where I'd gone from a series of results that were not satisfactory for me. We were just knocking on the door of the sort of the top 20 in the world, and there's about 120 professional boats in my discipline in the world. So I was knocking inside the top 20, but kind of hitting a brick wall.
Yeah.
And so I actually changed teammate in that spring, and we just clicked a bit easier, and 2009 was an acceleration, and we were suddenly winning medals. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a big jump, and it's not normal, but boom, we went to the World Championships that summer, won a medal, and it just started to dawn. I was like, hang about, we might actually have a shot at 2012 here, and put all the foundation in to make it proper, So and
is the Olympics the shining beacon of like the height of that you can go, and you're looking at it and going, shit, man, this could actually go down here.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It is. The Olympics is the ultimate in the sport of sailing. That is where you want to be. There's hundreds of sailing out there racing, but the Olympics is the pinnacle, along with probably the America's Cup as well. But that's a slightly different game. But aye. So it was exciting.
With your dad being such a big sailing fanatic, and probably your biggest supporter, and then he heard you saying that as a wee guy at 13, and then the bombshell drops. You're like, Dad, just want to tell you something, man. I'm going to the Olympics, right? So did he? How insane was the freak out? I mean, I would imagine he'd have been like, no way.
God, do you know what? I've never asked. In fact, because you asked me that, I'm going to ask him today. I've never asked him when I said that to him, what he thought. But that's why I was saying it was all a big mistake. It wasn't a grandmaster plan, It was
you just like woke up one day like, shit, I'm at the fucking Olympics.
Yeah. But you're right though. He by a country mile, he's my biggest fan, biggest supporter, and the parents, parents are amazing, aren't they? They just give up their whole life when you start. Well, some do.
Some do.
So I just got so lucky. Probably that I wanted to do what his passion is anyway.
Yeah.
That probably helped. I think it was, that really. So that was 2000. Those 9 years to finally winning medals in the senior Olympic discipline. It was not it was a hard 9 years of disappointment. I mean, I don't know. I just took losing so badly. I hated losing, and I would get embarrassed winning. Like I hated my name being called up to win first prize and stuff. By that point, in my head, it was all done. The satisfaction was on the water.
Right.
It wasn't being called to the podium or anything. I find that embarrassing in a way. What I enjoyed is winning and dominating on the water. And then I could have gone home at that point. It was the self-satisfaction.
Yeah, okay.
And I hated losing with a passion. So I've got many good memories in those younger years, many, but I also have many, horrible times when I just hated every bit of it, and I was just like in despair in the moments I wasn't winning and stuff like
Yeah.
that, you know. So it's, I don't know, it's tough what us kids put ourselves through, whatever the thing is, sport, or maybe it's an image thing, or maybe it's acceptance in a group of
Yeah.
friends, or maybe whatever the thing is, you know, the emotions we all go through. It's not an easy time being a teenager.
Do you know, it's funny you're saying that you don't like getting your name called, right? Because before you were an Olympian, look, you were a bit of a local celebrity. Because for anyone watching this, Mr. Luke Patience was the lead singer of Helensborough's premier punk rock band, Instant Hero. Now, I have a copy of the CD because Luke's band, Instant Hero, won the Helensborough Battle of the Bands. It was all over the radio. It was in all the papers. And my dad owned a record label, and that was the prize. Come on up and make an album. And I have the CD, look, right?
Oh,
so see when this
God.
goes up, there's a track going on at the end, right? Because there's a bit in it where you shout the immortal words drum solo, right?
Oh, it's so embarrassing. I hate it. Oh, man.
It's a classic, mate. It's a classic.
It is a classic, isn't it? But we were all doing it, weren't we?
Oh, aye.
Do you know what on earth possessed? Because Adam and Chris and Joe were actually talented musicians, you know, whereas I was not. I couldn't sing, I couldn't really play. But we just had so much fun together. That was really good that day recording in your studio, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Because who was the other? There was the other punk band. Was it David Marsden's band?
Mm-hmm.
What were they called?
With David Craig and Duncan Drummond.
Was it Modest Diaz?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was.
What a memory.
I'll be embarrassed if they're listening and can't remember the name, but I can barely remember our own one. I always liked all the songs that these boys wrote, and you know, you're embarrassed to play your own, but you love everyone else's.
But you won the Battle of the Bands. I think it was a popularity contest, mate.
I was going to say, probably because me, Chris, and Joe would just be jumping around the stage all the time.
The pop punk jump.
Yeah, jump the height with our guitar. Mate,
I know that.
Yes.
I know. I mean, to think. I mean, I must have been in third year, so you would have been fourth year.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, mate. I did my first ever crowd surf at your gig.
You know,
yeah.
Dave Marsden was so good with all that as well, because they were older, obviously, weren't they? A year above, which seems like forever when you're that age. You know, years mean everything for some reason, and they were good. Like, they would organise the half the stuff as well, you know, and go and play. And I love that scene. Honestly, that was such fond memories. Cringing as hell now, thinking back to it. But at the time, it was just so good.
So do you still play? Well, obviously not in a pop punk band, but...
Yeah. I do still play. I kind of jam with my dad here when I'm home, and I kind of just plinker away to myself. But I've hardly touched my electric guitar in years. Like, I've still got it. I've still got all the gear, you know, that we had back then. You know? All the gear, no idea.
Yeah, I think because actually, do you know, when Chris and I were talking about this, it was like Adam Wagner was some drummer. I was like,
so good.
Oh, because I remember my dad saying to me, like, that boy can drum.
He got married about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I went to his wedding in London.
Oh, right. What's he doing?
So he's basically, I don't know the exact job description, but he works for a gym, a corporation down in London called One Rebel, and Adam does a lot of their. He's got the camera in his hand the whole time. I think he creates their media storm. You know, photographer in house, and I think he's part of exploding the company all the time. He's really quite good. It's a lot of the shoots he does look really cool. But he's actually, because Chris Yandel, he started a band called Evering, and with another lassie who plays the piano, and I think sometimes he maybe has a double bass in there or something. And Adam, when he's recording, does a wee bit of the percussion,
Oh, really?
and it's really quite good. Yeah, Chris, a good songwriter. So yeah, they've kind of kept it on.
It's just all the old names from the past. You're like, Christ.
I know. Cool. We had a good upbringing in Helensburgh, didn't we?
We did. It was like a wee microclimate, wasn't it? It was just everyone was just right into skateboarding and pop punk. Just. Anyway, listen. Let's get back to some sailing stuff, right? Because nobody wants to hear about how me and you love Newfound Glory, right? So.
Got to be downloading that tonight.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm hit or miss. I'm jumping about my bedroom on the regs. Right. So what I also wanted to know was, so your first Olympics was London.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So was the pressure at London, because it's home Olympics? Was the pressure higher there, or was the pressure higher when you were an ambassador for Britain going across to Rio?
Oh, good question. I think the latter. I think the pressure is higher going away. I mean, and I think folk would say the opposite. I mean, the sort of the common thing you would hear is that home Olympics is where you feel the most pressure because there's an expectation.
Yeah.
You talk about home advantage. You talk about the fact that you've got more than normal a greater percentage of British viewers, watching, and they're there physically cheering on, which is different if you're in Rio or Tokyo or whatever. So most folk would say, the pressure's on the home games. But me and Stuart, who's my teammate for London, we just didn't feel that probably because we're stupid. But I mean, we just felt it was such an opportunity. Like it was such an honour and a privilege to be part of Team GB at a home Olympics. How lucky are we to be that generation, to be the right age, to be able to compete at it? And so we like reveled in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was for us, it gave us energy and fight and fire. Mm-hmm. It like lit the flame rather than kind of made us cautious and made us feel pressure. Mm-hmm. So I think traveling overseas, I feel the pressure more.
Because the opening ceremony in London was quite special. I actually watched it again yesterday. See, because you were coming on today, and the whole thing with the Queen jumping out that helicopter.
It's great, isn't it? And Mr. Bean on the piano as well for that at the start.
But what was the opening ceremony like? So did you do the lap with the team?
Yeah.
That must have been so cool, man.
So honestly, that for me, head and shoulders is above any experience I had. Even winning an Olympic medal, the most memorable experience that just hit me like a ton of bricks was walking. And so we were in the bowels of the stadium, right. And obviously each country gets called out. I mean, that's why the Olympic ceremony takes forever. And then of course the host nation is the last to be called out. And when the final country had gone out, I think it was Zimbabwe, probably. And we were in the tunnels of the stadium waiting, and we just heard 80,000 people in the stadium just stamping their feet, because Team GB is about to get called, and the rattle and the roar. And I just remember looking at Stuart, and our eyes are just white. Like, what we didn't know what to expect, and Team GB get called out, and out we go. And it's too hard to describe what that felt like.
It sounds quite gladiatorial.
Yeah, and like when you watch these movies, like Gladiator, going out into the Colosseum and stuff like that, and he's looking around. It felt like that, man. It really did, and it was the most powerful. I couldn't have had a better start to the games of feeling that sort of power from being part of that, and I know it'll never be like that again. I'm acutely aware that was it. That was your one moment. Yeah. How can it? I could go and win in Tokyo next summer. I know it won't feel like that felt, especially being a younger lad and things like that. So I'm so lucky, and that'll be the thing I'll talk about and remember forever.
And medaling at those games must have been pretty special.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when I was watching it, apart from the fact that you capsized right after you crossed the Christ. But when you were being interviewed after it, 'cause I watched the interview, I could see you're looking about because you're not paying attention to the guy that's asking the question. You're looking about. I could see, and in my head, I'm thinking you must be going, Jesus Christ, I can't believe this has happened. You're just looking about. I mean, it must have been surreal.
Aye, it was surreal, and I do. Luckily, I remember it all. Sometimes when you get these euphoric moments, it's all a blur. But probably, you said I'm looking around. I'm probably just trying to soak it in.
Yeah.
I'm probably looking, going, don't forget this, mate. You know, look, take it in, be here, be in the moment, and it was totally surreal. I mean, we ultimately, when business is business. Ultimately, when we're there racing, we're there doing we're there to do a job.
Mm-hmm.
We're there to perform, and that's your skill as an athlete, is getting your brain and your awareness and focus in the right place. So, so when we're out racing, it's all just, we're treating it as just another race. It's another opportunity, But yeah, the bits around the edges were just totally surreal, in the Olympic podium and seeing your flag. Sadly, not hearing our anthem, because the gold medalist was the Australians. But the whole thing was just again that will never be the same again as well. Yeah. That bit too. The whole 2 weeks, you want to replicate it, and too right. Neither should you be able to, because then it's strong in your memory, and it means something more,
So were you staying in the Olympic Village?
No, we weren't. One of the cornerstones to our success as a British sailing team is we retain good control of our environment, and one of those, to control your environment, you want to be you want to control as many elements as you can, and one of them is accommodation and the food you eat, and the staff that you have looking after you. So we actually take ourselves out the village, and we have our own, as a British sailing team. This is not just me and my teammate. We always house ourselves outside, because I've stayed in the Olympic Village quite a bit as well over the 2 Olympics. Not while I'm competing, but the bookends of it all. Some party, mate.
Yeah, well, that's what my next question was going to be. It's like you lock people up like that. Yeah. Especially everyone's all in a great frame of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember as well that possibly for 50%, maybe, I'm guessing that percentage, maybe 50% of the athletes that are in the village, their gold medal was qualifying and being there. Maybe they're from a nation which is not yet as developed as others in that sport. So the depth of talent is lower at that. The depth of experience is lower at that point. There could be a number of reasons, but their Olympics was qualifying the nation, qualifying themselves, and getting there. And they're not realistically there to medal, and so those lot are just on an absolute wild one. And I don't blame them for one bit either. I don't blame them either. And so, man, have we experienced the good side of that after our competition.
Of course, after it.
I mean, you bolt up sort of 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 athletes into literally a village. There's shops and all sorts. I mean, what's going to happen?
It's going to kick off, man.
Do Boris Johnson after London? It was so funny. So we're doing our victory parade in London on the floats, and we went to outside Buckingham Palace, the roundabout there with the statue in the middle. I don't know what that's called. I should know, but and we're all there, and Boris was the Queen. She obviously addressed the nation and said well done, what have you, and then Boris came on as the mayor of London at this point, and. Because one of the slogans for Team GB was "Inspire a Generation," and he said, and this is addressing to millions because it's the BBC are filming it as well as everyone who's there, Queen and all, And he said, "Oh, I've been speaking to a lot of our Olympians and their experiences, and I know our slogan was to inspire a generation, but from the sounds of what went on in that village, I think we might have made a generation as well." And he said that.
Go on, Boris. He's brilliant for a soundbite as Boris.
Oh, yeah.
That's brilliant, actually. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. All these fit and healthy young things all juiced up, and adrenaline and all that. It's going down.
Yeah.
So London done and dusted, then Rio. So Rio, it's a completely different climate. Like when I watched your races in 2012, you could quite clearly see you were in Britain. So you go across there now. I believe the terminology light wind. Is that right?
That's right, mate.
Look it. I know. There we go.
Yeah.
I've just got to credit Wikipedia for that. No. So yeah. During the training for Rio, do you have to amend what it is that you're doing because you know that the environment that you're going to be sailing in is different?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on. So the reason we talked about the engine being invisible and all that. I mean, the big thing with sailing is that you're using the elements of nature to power your boat or guide what you can and can't do. And so, if you're to go to any seaside place in the world, the person that knows what the weather's going to be like that day is the old salty fisherman on the shore because he's lived and breathed it for 40 years. So what we're attempting to do in the 4-year cycle is essentially moving on a scale towards being that salty fisherman on the shore, where you just know the venue inside out. And it's pattern matching is what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying to match weather patterns and go, I've seen this before. The wind's going to do that. That we're trying to get towards that. So whether it be light winds, heavy winds, rough seas, calm seas, tidal, not tidal, high land, low land, you name it. The whole thing is about trying to make patterns so that on race day, when we're doing our strategic bit before the race starts and looking at what might be the favourable thing and favourable side of the course, is we can look up and go, I've seen this before. When it did this for the last 3 years, this is what happened next. So that we spend 4 years in the venue training. Not day in, day out. I mean, we go in blocks, training blocks. We spend 4 years trying to get closer to ending those sentences.
That is dedication. Do you know what I mean? To be able to, because it's not just like hopping in a boat with an engine and just being like,
no.
Do you know what I mean? Like to actually have to read your environment. I
it's good fun.
I don't think there's any other sport that you would have to do that in.
No, I don't. There's some sports you need to acclimatize, but no one. I don't think anyone really. No one reads the weather and the complexities that we do.
Maybe I was going to say archery. They might have to read the weather because
with the wind,
and shooting.
Yeah. And equestrian, their horses need to go out for ages to read. Like if you take a horse from the west of Scotland and put it in Rio de Janeiro, it's going to go, what is happening here?
It's just molting hair. Yeah. So what was the atmosphere like in Rio? Because traditionally it's a party place anyway. So when the Olympics come to town and the pasty Scots guys will roll up with suntan lotion in hand, it must have been epic.
It was. I mean, I'll be honest. The locals, there was sort of a split in the local people because the problem is there's a lot of money went missing that goes to the government when a city bids to be an Olympic host city.
Yeah.
The IOC give money to that city to help build infrastructure to run the games.
Okay.
And my understanding. I'm not very politically minded. My understanding is a lot of money went missing and a lot of promises from the government that would better the city, whether it be the hygiene, sanitation, whether it be building stadiums and better roads or whatever. A lot of that, my understanding, never happened. And so the locals started, I think, to resent that the Olympics was coming to town because it resembled corruption in some way, shape or form. But not all of them.
No.
I'm painting a bad picture. That there was a split, and so the other great side of it was what you've just described. Brazil's Rio de Janeiro is a wonderful place. It's a total party city, and they made it a party. They made it a 2-week-long party, and the colours and the music and the display they put on was great. And so it was Latin American. It was more organic than London, which was absolutely methodically perfect. And the Brazilian way was much more fluid than
Yeah.
that. So it's a totally different vibe. But it was great. They put on a good show, and I really feel sorry for them that there's some of that bad media around it, and it could have. I just feel like it could have been so much more than it was. It was. I think it felt 50% of what it could have been.
Yeah.
You know.
So were you out there just for 2 weeks, or do you go out and acclimatise like you were talking about? Do you go out and get a wee read of the...
Yeah, so I first went to Rio in December 2012. So just 3-4 months after London.
Wow.
To start experiencing the place, and we did count up how many days we'd spent in Rio by the end. I think it was something like maybe about 200 and something days in Rio.
Wow.
In the end, not in one go. Like the 3 years that we dip
back
out,
and forward.
We'd normally do 2 to 3 week trips at a time out there. And the great thing about Rio is the climate is pretty much the same all year round because it's so close to the equator.
Yeah.
So we would get out there in November, September to December, and out again in spring. And then obviously the summer months because that's when the games will be. So we got the cool thing as well is for these Olympic Games, because it's a 4-year cycle and you house yourself out there as much as you can. You kind of feel like a local in the city by the end.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
You feel like you've lived in the city for 4 years because you keep going back. So that I love that bit about it.
So have you, obviously before all this coronavirus thing, did 2016 finish and then you're like, right, to Tokyo? Is that...
Yeah, well, after Rio, Rio was a tough one because my teammate got diagnosed with bowel cancer.
Right, I read this.
Out before, and so that's when I teamed up with Twiggy, who I sail with now. He came in to fill Elliot's shoes for the Rio Games. Elliot was my teammate who got diagnosed with cancer. So there's a I say that flippantly. I just mean that there was so much that went on during that time, but and Elliot's okay, which is the main thing. But it just changed my perspective on it all a little bit, and so I kind of, from saying sport was life or death, I suddenly was given a whole heap of perspective that no, it's not. It's a game, a wonderful one that's worth caring about, but it put it into a place which almost came at a nice time in my age because 33 now, and it's nice now to see the wood for the trees. I'm lucky to do sport. I'm fortunate. I'm privileged. And in at the end of the day, it's not the sport or my results don't define me. They don't define anyone. You are who you are. If you go on and achieve whatever it is you want to achieve in your life, that's not a definition of who you are. That's a testament to your character, not what the actual thing was that you achieved. And so, but what the reason I'm saying all that is after Rio, I was tired. I was exhausted by being a full-time Olympic athlete, and I felt like I needed to just step away for a bit and reconsider if I wanted to do another 4-year program. So I stepped away after Rio, unsure what the answer to that would be, and did a bit of other things for a while, and slowly the hunger built again. And,
you can't stay away.
I couldn't stay away. One of the things that did hook me was in the closing ceremony at Rio. They always in the closing ceremony, the next host city for the Olympics gets 10 minutes to do a wee show.
Right.
So the Japanese came and did a 10-minute thing at the closing for the ceremony in Rio, and it was just so good. Like they did these, it's just how you'd imagine the Japanese. It was precise, it was neon, it was perfectly orchestrated, and it just looked cool, and light shows, and it was technical, and we all watched that and went, oh God, the Japanese will put on an amazing game, don't they?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, let's go and do the Olympics next time.
So what is going to happen with this? Is it getting moved to next year?
Yeah, it basically got moved a full calendar year, bar one day. It got moved 364 days later.
So does that mean that are they going to continue it being 4 years from next year, or is it going to be 3 years from next year? Like for the one after Tokyo?
Oh, sorry. No, that will keep the same date. So basically, it'll be another Olympics 3 years later.
3 year, yeah, okay. I just wondered
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it was going to knock it
No,
all out, you know.
yeah, no. No, they'll keep. They'll just make it 3 years
Mm-hmm.
later. I think. I can't. Yeah, because the problem is half the logo is it's Paris 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So if they keep knocking, and LA's already been picked for 2028.
Jeez, oh.
If we're all still alive then, but so it's
Because it
so
must, it
yeah,
must. I
no.
mean, with it being moved back a year, there'll be some athletes who would have been. This would have been the last games,
Hmm.
and they're at the tail end of their capabilities to
Hmm.
perform at an Olympic standard, and for that to
Hmm.
get moved forward a year, that's potentially going to cause some issues, I would imagine.
Yeah, you're almost describing me there. Like that's you
Sorry,
know,
mate. I didn't mean. So,
yeah. But well, I'm fortunate in sailing that it's far more a mental game than it is a physical game. I don't need to be in a state of perfection and in peak fitness like a rower, or like a cyclist, for
Mhm.
example. Um, but yeah, it's really hard. And what's going to be really hard is for that athlete you've described is it might just be too much. One year just might be they might have an injury that they've been nursing. It might just be too much for them, and it prematurely ends a career before they got even to the start line. So I don't know who that would be, but it's a shame.
Mhm.
It's a shame. And so you kind of just it's almost trying to look at it as a bigger package. Team GB is a well-resourced and well-prepared team, and so it gives us an extra year as a nation
Yeah,
to prepare for it. If it even happens, mate. If we don't find a vaccine
I
for
know.
COVID, I, Olympics and everything else
Yeah.
is gonna. We might be talking a different game at that point.
That's the thing. I've said this to loads of people. There's no procedures in place to deal with this. Do you know what I mean? It's not like when I would imagine that during wartime, that there was like the sirens went on, everyone knew what to do. They would like, oh, shutters down, lights off. But what pandemic? Folk are like, I mean, do you know what's ridiculous? There has been so many films, zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse films, and no one thought, do you know what? We should maybe have a wee think about this. See if this actually happens. What are we going to do? Because everyone's just now
Yeah.
went, well, what about this? And even things like the Olympics, and then like in football, you know what I mean? Like there's just chaos. Everybody's all fighting each other, and
Yeah. I
the
know.
sad thing is it's coming down to money.
I know. I
And
know.
but there seems to be nothing in place to deal
Yeah.
with something like this.
I know. It's hard, isn't it? So I don't. I mean, I've got not got enough knowledge to know what we should or shouldn't be doing, and I know that it sort of feels like whatever the government do, they take a load of heat for it
Aye.
anyway. And maybe they did the right thing, maybe they did the wrong thing, but one thing's for sure is it's unknown territory the whole
Well,
time, isn't
very
it?
much so. And you can't
Yeah.
please
So who
everybody.
knows?
You can't please everyone.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So after Tokyo, Tokyo, is that you Olympic out, or are you thinking I quite fancy Paris?
No, I mean, I'm not announcing a retirement here, but I would very much sort of three is a nice number,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I'm no for an athlete, I'm no spring chicken. I'm at the other end of the scale, not the oldest by any means, but I Team GB has been really good to me. This sport, this lifestyle, and has been a wonderful thing to have been part of, and I feel like my hunger for it is has reached a level where I find myself searching for the hunger sometimes, whereas it came naturally as a younger man. So and that's just I think that's just natural growing up through it. You do the same
Very
thing for
much
a
so.
long time. It does change the perspective, and so I feel like sitting here now that it would be that's enough now, eh?
Yeah. Do you know
You
it's
know?
funny you were talking about the hunger? A couple of weeks ago, I had a professional dancer on, commercial dancer from down in London. And this guy, he's performed with like David Guetta and Kelly Rowland,
Oh, cool.
travelled the world. And he was talking about the same thing when he was younger. He was going to auditions. He was smashing it. He was full of beans. He was he was almost, there was something in him. Like he almost had to prove himself. And then as he's got older, that whole thing, the priorities in his life have changed to, well, we paused there. The priorities in his life have changed, and so, but he's watching all the youngsters coming through, which kind of leads me into what I was going to ask you. That so after competitive sailing, are you going to take on the Mr. Miyagi mantle and start coaching all the youngsters?
I think so. What I want to do next is there's basically three big things in sailing. I know I said earlier the Olympics is the pinnacle, and it is really. But there's the Olympics. There's the America's Cup, which is, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's an ancient racing trophy in boats. It's ridiculous. Hundreds of millions go into it, and it's one boat against another boat. It's like a big traditional race. And then there's the ocean race, the World Ocean Race, which is, clue in the title, it is a round the world yacht race. And it's a totally different type of, corner of the sport. It's a feat of endurance, largely. It's getting everyone home safe, no one falling overboard and drowning. I'd love to do the ocean race next. I'd love to race around planet Earth. And it's not it's you're mastering the seven seas in a tiny wee boat with maybe 10 other people in the boat. And I love the thought of going on an adventure with the sport next.
Yeah.
It's like it's a race, obviously, and there's a lot at stake. But yeah, for me, I would like to move on to that. And I really like working with people. Like I enjoy the satisfaction I get from inspiring a group of folk to pull together in the same direction and do something great is a huge pull for me. And that's what the ocean race would do. So I want to run and lead a team and try and win that race. So and that would just like buzz and tick so many things for me. And it's different. I know it's in a boat. I know it's on the water, but I'm kind of destined for that now. I'm not going to be I just love it too much.
Yeah.
So
I suppose doing the ocean race would be kind of like going back to your roots. Do you know what I mean? But although it is still a race, but you're out there, you're free. Do you know what I mean? I think, and it's still got that wee bit of competitiveness bolted on the side of it.
Exactly, and I just, it's the working with people that we have just, you're in the Southern Ocean, it's 3 a.m, it's 0 degrees or snowing, the water's 2 degrees, there's waves the size of houses, and it's blowing 50 mile an hour. And you've got to make it till sunrise and make sure that, and then you've got to do it all again. You've got to do that for 20 days as you cross dodging icebergs. Where we're out there. Like it's climbing Mount Everest in the boating world. We're not mucking about here, And I love the thought of that. I love the thought of...
Do the waves get that big?
And bigger, mate. I mean, the waves will be 50 feet, Yeah. And there'll be rogue waves even bigger than that. But yeah, we're talking waves so big that boat would disappear down the other side, as you go up and down.
What?
You wouldn't see the boat. Yeah.
That is petrifying.
Yeah. You take a certain...
You're like, I'm going to just stop doing the Olympics, take it easy. Maybe take on some rogue 50-foot waves, see what happens.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You're a glutton for punishment, Mr. Patience.
I know. But I like the thing is one of the things that you shouldn't look past. I feel when you get to a certain stage in whatever it is you do in life I feel it's vital that you put back to kids because you're in a privileged position where you inspire kids, and I don't mean that in a big-headed way. Kids are so impressionable, and all of us as kids are inspired by someone in the things that you're interested in.
Yeah.
So I'm acutely aware that kids, like I would have done at their age, will be maybe listening to me or watching me, and as they will with loads of other people as well. and maybe listening to the words and thinking, God, that sounds cool, or I'd like to do that. And so I feel a duty and a desire to, spend time with some young sailing kids, and they don't even have to be sailors, but and I was just once a wee lad sitting on my plastic school chair in Roo, dreaming away, and like I said, what a big mistake, and here I am today. And so I think it's really vital to keep that culture going the whole time, because there's a lot of false messages out there sometimes, and I think you often get it from teachers, and it's the panic and the desire to pass an exam, and the reality is you don't need to do that if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You might want to, and that's important for you, but my God, there's a big old world out there that has nothing to do with what's sometimes rammed down your throat. And so I like to kind of portray that.
Do you know, it's funny you're talking about teachers. Our school has generated, right, so last week I had on Scotland's first female world boxing champion. And she went to Luss Primary, right, and went to Hermitage Academy. There's you.
I didn't know she went to Luss.
Yeah, she went to Luss Primary, yeah, and
Right.
she went to Luss Primary, and so her name's Hannah Rankin. She was on last week. She was she's as far as an inspirational person is concerned, she's up there. She's a classically trained bassoon player as well. And anyway, so and she would punch the face right off you, like, I swear to God, man. Oh mate, she's like a smile on, and she's like, I'll fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. I don't care. And also she said the immortal words, I just love punching people in the face. I was like,
fair enough.
But then you've got you, but there's Gordon Reid.
Yeah.
So for the one school, I mean, and so that's within, say, 3 or 4 years of each other. You have got 3 people. I mean, I'm probably missing somebody out. If I am, I apologise. But
there'll be
like people who have excelled in sport that came from our 70s prison-looking school. Do you know what I mean? And I wonder why. I wonder whether that is to do with the type of education that we were getting. Especially in the sort of physical education side of things, because there was a lot of people who maybe didn't make like Olympic grade and stuff like that, who were all very, very, like, it seemed like their talent seemed to be nurtured more. And I just think it's a bizarre, because I don't know of any other school when it's just like all these Olympians and stuff like that.
You're right. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, that there's, and also I was reading that, like, when I was looking at the Hall of Fame, and we've got people that have invented stuff. We've got musicians. We've got every artists as well. Like, there's a lot of cool things that have come from old Hermitage Academy.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really inspirational people, and that's why when we started the podcast, we were kind of like spoiled for choice. I was just like, right, we need to get looking at, and we'll speak to Hannah. So we've managed to cultivate all these guests that stay about 15 minutes away from me. So, it's been really good.
It's a cool thing. No, we've done, in our school was good. So I think we had some good teachers. It wasn't too strict academically, which can sometimes be the Achilles heel to any creativity. So. Yeah.
Anyway, look, we'll call it a day there, mate. But thank you very, very much for coming on and sharing your outlook and your stories with us. I've really appreciated it, and I've learned a bit about sailing, mate. There we go.
Well, yeah. No, thanks for having me, and it's good to see you after all these years.
I know, mate. I know.
Well, hopefully we'll have something to celebrate after Tokyo next year. And
I'll give you a shout.
And I'd like to. More importantly, I'll get myself up to Helensburgh, and we'll be throwing a big party somewhere.
That'd be brilliant.
If it goes well, hopefully. And if not, we'll do it anyway.
Right, okay, guys. Well, I'm just going to say good night or good afternoon, even. And like I said, hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you very much.